What's going on, guys? So today's video is actually going to be the M2 Pro versus the M3, but Apple decided to drop some very big news, and there's also some big news about our sponsor for today, nobody. So I'm going to move over here to the side so you guys can see the article. I also have it linked down in the description below. It's by The Verge, give credit where credit is due. And as you can see by the title, Apple says iPhones will support RCS in 2024. Like I said, I really don't know who is the management at Apple or the executive at Apple in like the past 3-4 years. I think Apple has just been knocking it out the park recently, with the new MacBooks, the better chips, USB-C, shout out to the EU. Just overall, their entire stack, how Apple looks as a brand, I just think they are doing a lot of things that are good for everyone, not for themselves. Give or take. But anyway, let's go ahead, read through this article, and I can kind of give you guys a gist of what's going on. So we're going to focus on this quote here. So according to a report from 9to5Mac, later next year, we will be adding support for RCS Universal Profile, the standard as currently published by the GSM Association. An Apple spokesperson tells 9to5Mac. We believe RCS Universal Profile will offer a better interoperability experience when compared to SMS or MMS. This will work alongside iMessage, which will continue to be the best and most secure messaging experience for Apple users. So let's kind of deconstruct this a little bit. So what exactly is RCS? Now, I don't want people to get confused because Google has been going on this campaign, basically bullying Apple, honestly, rightfully so, about how whenever you message an Android device, you're not getting those features that you would usually get from an iPhone to iPhone or Android to Android using RCS. So it's not like Google owns RCS. RCS is more of like a standard and Google has their own implementation of it. So what Apple is going to do, they're going to have their own implementation of RCS. And whenever an iPhone talks to an Android device, hopefully next year, they're going to be communicating with that baseline standard of RCS. So we can get features like, typing indicators, the reaction to messages, better videos and images that are being sent. And I just think this is something that this is going to be something that will get people to use the regular messaging app on their phone, because I think a lot of people circumvent this by just going on social media apps like Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, the list goes on, right? You basically just go to all these third-party apps where you can just message people and have those same features. But if we're now getting this in the base messaging app, that's just one less thing you have to worry about. Now, I'm not going to name any companies because I don't want to get in trouble by them, but there have been some companies that have decided to go about their own route of implementing iMessage on their own device, which is basically just having another messaging app on your phone. Like I said, I don't want to call any company out specifically, but I really don't think that was the best route going forward, because it's almost inevitable that Apple is going to implement RCS. And as much as it is a meme, I would say that people say they only use iPhone for iMessage. I just don't think that's true, especially if you're over the age of 21. And I would argue that most Apple customers are over the age of 21. Yes, there is a large demographic of people under 25 who own an iPhone, but the amount of people who actually own an iPhone are above the age of 21 and don't really care about iMessage. That being said, companies can do what they want. Personally, for me, if I'm going to message someone and I don't want to have the headache of them being so, anti-Apple with the green bubbles, I'm just going to message them on a general messaging app and call it a day. I'm not going to download another third-party app for the sake of iMessage. If you're under the age of 21, once again, maybe you're going to do that. But if you're over the age of 21, you're probably not going to do that. You're probably just going to use the regular messaging app as it is. This is huge for people in America. I know the rest of the world, they're all using WhatsApp because they already know what's up. Everyone else in America, since we're still in caveman times, we're still using iMessage as like the default app. But regardless, I'm just happy that I can text someone on Android and they can get the full video and the full image. Who cares about the bubbles in the color? I care more about, if I send someone a video, I want them to see it and not make it look like it's in like 360p. That's my biggest complaint with iPhone to Android and Android to iPhone. In terms of reactions, stuff like that, that's cool. The last thing I want to touch on is I don't know if this setting is going to be enabled by default or if it's like an opt-in only, because that would make this honestly kind of rendered useless, because if it's an opt-in, it's not going to take off. I think it's Apple just checking off the box that they are doing RCS. Simply for the fact that even on Android, RCS isn't enabled by default. If you're on a Pixel, most likely it's enabled by default. But I know people on Android that I text and I'm like, why is my bubble not blue to you? And they're like, what are you talking about? And it's like, they themselves aren't using RCS. So if iPhone users have RCS on by default and Android users don't, then I would say iPhone users have a reason to complain to Android people. Hey, we are giving you the benefit of the doubt of we're using RCS, you should be using it too. So if anything, I would argue that this would even make the Google Pixel a more compelling option in the US as well, since they both have RCS enabled by default on the Google side. If it's enabled by default on iPhones, iPhone and Pixels are going to be probably the best interoperability phones when communicating with one another. Samsung, I don't know specifically if they have their RCS enabled by default, but regardless, I'm just super happy that this is a thing and it's not mandated by any type of government. So let me know down in the comments below if you are happy about this announcement. Once again, I think this is the biggest announcement that I've heard from Apple since like the first M MacBooks came out. M2, M3, they're great, but the first M1 blew everyone away. USB-C is great, but I think this is a bigger announcement by Apple. So got to give kudos to them. Appreciate Apple by doing this. If it actually comes true, we'll be looking with a magnifying glass in 2024, and we're going to test this out. Once again, I don't know if Apple's going to do the bare minimum or not, just to check off the box that they are using RCS, but third-party companies that try to implement iMessage, kind of worried about your outlook in the future. But regardless, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. And until next time, guys, see you. Wait, I said that wrong. Until next time, guys, I'll see you. I was going to say, whatever. I'm not going to make a blooper out of this. Just bye. Get this out of my sights. Ow, my kneecap.